Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. This is what it used to look like. Now we're 100% digital, but man, this was a great issue. Mr. JLL on the cover. God, the magazine used to look, we stopped printing in August of 2021. That was our last issue we printed when we went 100% digital. I used to do a small press run for the cover guys and people that had ads and articles. And then I wanted a couple of copies for my archives. But, oh, man, this magazine it looks awesome. I really do miss it, but I love being digital. Anyway, hope everybody had a great weekend. It's Sunday night here. It's raining in the ATL. We're filling up Lake Lanier. We like keeping that lake full in the winter because, boy, do they use a lot of water down here in the South in the spring and summer. All of us here in the state of Georgia, waiting for that Bulldog game to play Ohio State Buckeyes coming up at the, over New Year's. And boy, man, I'll tell you, the bar's going to be packed. Everybody's going to be having parties. They're going to, when that game starts, everybody's going to be glued to the TV. And hopefully, it's a great game. May the best team win. I'm going to be pulling for the Dogs. Actually, my parents are from Ohio, so I'm kind of a Buckeye too. I went to University of Denver, and as long as it's a close game, I have no problem with who wins. But I live in Georgia, so I've got to pull for the Bulldogs. It's just a waiting game. Every day gets closer, and the hype starts to build up. And they just had the Heisman. Congratulations to the quarterback for USC. And all in all, it's been, got a couple of weeks till Christmas. You got Hanukkah and then New Year's, and boom, start 2023 out. So Falcons weren't playing. My University of Denver Pioneers, they went into Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs. They're, always one of the top teams in the country. And they swept them this weekend. Unbelievable. They swept North Dakota a couple weekends ago. They're number one in the country. Both games went to overtime, and the Pios won in OT. Friday night and Saturday night. Great weekend. I know that they were partying on campus in DU. So way to go, Pios, and keep up the momentum. Let's keep up those winning and put those W's on the board. Anyway, tonight, I only have a couple of episodes left. And I wanted to end of the year off, on a really cool, positive note. So tonight I have a very, very special guest. That gentleman in front of the prop with his AIM shirt on. His name is Mr. Brody Corson. He's my son. And Brody works for Boeing in Charleston, South Carolina. And they build the 787 Dreamliner there. And he's a maintenance tech. And he's actually on the flight line. So as the planes come out of the manufacturing facility, he kind of finishes them up, as well as anything that any of the Dreamliners that they built, they need to get worked on. They come back to Charleston. He does, the work on them. So, Brody, say hello to our guests out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Hey, we appreciate you because we know that you were busting your tail this week. I don't know how many hours that you put in, but you've had some long shifts. And I know that there were some things going on with the maintenance, and some of the planes came in with quality control and all that good stuff. And that's what you went to school for. So, but the reason why I wanted to have Brody on here was because we're all in construction, and there's a labor shortage, and we need people to learn how to weld, do woodworking, electrical, etc. And the reason why I had Brody on is, he had no idea he was going to be a aviation technician, but he always loved working with his hands, and he's flipped bikes, cars, he's worked in a garage, and, he didn't go the college route. He went the technical school route. And I thought the reason why I would have him on here is, I wanted him to tell his story on, how he grew up, me being his dad, I coached, we did a lot of things together. And, I wasn't the easiest going parent, and he'll tell you that. He called me Sergeant Carter, and as a coach, I was tougher on him as ever because of all the teams that we did. But I wonder, he'll tell a story, and he'll talk about, why he went to tech school, and how he took what he learned so he could get hired at Boeing. So with that said, Brody, tell them your story. And I'll correct you if you don't get anything right. So, because I was right there with you all the way through. So, and the really cool thing for you, Brody was born on my wife's birthday, and that's very, very special thing. And my wife was pregnant, and I said, "Are you sure you want to have him on your birthday?" Because he was about a week late. And I said, "Because you're never going to have your own birthday." And she says, "No, that's the best birthday present I could ever have." And so it's not a birthday that I'll ever remember. Forget, I should say. And so it's a pretty cool gig, And actually, it actually runs in the family. There's several people on my wife's side, but that they've had their kids on their birthday and stuff. So, it's science in action. So, Brody, tell them your story. How you went to school, some of the sports that you played, and then how you flipped bikes, worked on cars, and then how we figured out to you're going to go to aviation tech school, and then getting hired in that whole gig. The floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Well, where should we even start with this? Because this is pretty long. It's really, I don't even think you know how I got into aviation, believe it or not. Do you even know the story, kind of how it went down?
Well, no, listen. As far as I know, here's the gig. I'll plant the scene. I'll make it easy for you. So,
well, that's what I'm curious about. You don't really know.
Well, I do. Here's what I do know. Okay. Brody listen, I played hockey, I played lacrosse, I was on skis the minute I could walk. So when Brody got out of diapers, okay, just like we all were in them, it's not a big deal. We put him on skates and we took him out to skiing. We put him in ski school. And Brody learned how to skate. And then when it came time for him to play ice hockey, he's like, "I want to play roller." So I was like, "Okay, I want to coach you. I don't want some Yahoo coaching that doesn't know what he's doing." So I went down to the roller league. I became a coach. I actually played in the men's league, and we did that for I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and won a couple championships, and saw him progress. And then about in 7th or 8th grade, he says, "Hey, I want to play lacrosse." And I said, "Okay, I want to be a good coach because I don't want some Yahoo coaching you that doesn't know what he's doing." And I played D1 lax, and I still play in the old man's league. And so we went into the lacrosse league, and was this coach there, travel team in the summer, select team. And then high school came around, and I did the club team. I did the varsity during the fall, and and as well as I kept playing in the men's league. And then Brody, in his junior year in high school, just decided that high school, they wouldn't accept him into the tech school where he wanted to go to. And I said, if there's one kid that not the tech, what's that?
There's a story about that, about the tech school.
You don't have to get into it. The bottom line is, I told the school, if there's one person that you want to put into, the tech school that the high school had to offer, is him. He's not into history, he's not in English, he's not in any of that stuff, and he just wants to work with his hands. So they, they kind of dragged their feet and whatever, and we just decided, you know what, we're yanking him out. So his senior year, we basically homeschooled him. And he did school it online at Faith Academy, which was the best decision I think we ever did. Don't you think?
Yes. We should have done that my freshman year of high school.
Yeah. Well, regardless, the problem with the high school is that, there were about 3,000 kids in that school.
4,500.
Okay. 4,500. And
45.
It's a big athletic school, killer football team. They always have good teams and everything: lacrosse, basketball, baseball. And if you're not a big athlete, or if you're not a 4.0 student, people just get lost. You're just a computer number. And, when we went in to talk about this tech school thing, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, the whole public school thing. And listen, nothing against the public schools. I just am telling you my experience with it. And I just didn't I think he was getting a raw deal. And so we yanked him out, and he got a job as a waiter. He worked in a garage. He worked while he went to online. And then he was trying to kind of decide if he was going to be, first he wanted to be a motorcycle tech. And I said, "Look, if you want to be a motorcycle tech, you got to do it. You have to have your own shop, and you have to do it in someplace warm where you can work on bikes all year long." And then we looked at being an auto tech. There was a couple automobile mechanic schools that we looked at. Once again, I told them, if you don't have your own shop, you're going to be working for someone else. You won't make the big bucks. And then we finally found out that all these mechanics that were working in the aviation school were going to retire, about 600,000 of them. And there was a serious labor shortage. And if you don't know, you can't leave a plane sit. It's got to be maintained. You got to work on them. You just can't let them sit on the tarmac.
There's a lot of protocol just for storage facilities and storage protocol we have at Boeing for all the manufactured planes that are coming in and out of San Antonio, Victorville, California, and coming out of the main facility in Everett. They're per FAA spec and manufacturer spec from Boeing. This is industry wide. It doesn't matter if you're working on an Airbus, Embraer, Bombardier, Pilatus, Cessna. It doesn't matter. You have storage requirements for aircraft. You have to have certain limitations done to them. The engines have to be run certain limitations. You have to exercise the struts. Certain hydraulic systems have to be serviced all the time. We actually just got done doing that on a plane that we just pulled out of storage that's getting ready to be delivered to British Airways, 787-10. We had to cycle the gear struts with nitrogen and 5606 hydraulic oil. I think it was 10 times last night when I was working, just because it's been sitting for so long.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter, like you just said, even sitting, these planes have to be serviced. You can't just let a plane sit. It's constantly being worked on. It doesn't matter if it doesn't leave the ground, unless it's a showpiece in a museum, or if it's, someone's garage queen. It's still going to get worked on at least twice a year, minimum. And that's just even on small planes. So
I want everybody to know, did you just hear that just flew out of him? Okay. Now, it wasn't English, it wasn't history, it was all mechanics. But let me finish my story, okay? And then you can go at it. So we took a tour of this aviation school called AIM. And what does AIM stand for?
Aviation Institute of Maintenance.
Okay. And there's about 20 schools or so that are around the country. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe there's more, but there's a bunch of them. This one was down just south of us, a little ways away. It was an old grocery store that had been sitting there vacant, and they renovated it as a reuse project. They made the school. They put a woodworking metal shop. They had a hangar. Actually, in the back there, you could actually taxi airplanes around and so forth. So my wife and I, Brody, we took the tour of the school, and it was a 2-year program. And then once you graduated, you would study and you would go for your A&P license. And what does A&P stand for?
Airframe power plant. And well, my background's messing it up, but that's your A&P license.
Yeah.
That's your license.
Well, it's like going for your MedCat. So it's going for your law degree. That's how tough this thing is. It's about five parts. Let me finish, and then I'll let you go. And so he took 2 years, graduated, and then he became actually, I'll tell the story. Delta hired you, and your first day at Delta, after you had spent about a month or so getting fingerprinted, whatever, you go down to Delta, and a recruiter called you and said, "Hey, would you like to move to Charleston? We'll pay you 3 or 4 times of what Delta's going to pay you, and you can work in the manufacturing plant and get your OEM experience." And he looked at his boss and said, "Hey, what would you do?" He goes, "Get the hell out of here." So he came home. He goes, "Dad, Mom, I'm gonna move to Charleston." So he got on Facebook, found a roommate, rented a room. My wife Kristen and they went over, got himself settled, and boom, he started working for Boeing. So he spent about a year or so as a contractor, and then they had a position come up open on the flight line, and that he applied for, and he got hired. So he resigned as the contractor, and Boeing came and brought him back as an employee with benefits and everything else. And he beat a lot of people out that had tenure, had more experience than him, and he's only 23 years old. All right. And they hired him for this position, and he's making good money and benefits and everything else. Got a great shift, 2 to 10, 2 to 11, whatever it is. And, but it's been a really good experience. But he's working with his hands. He's doing what he wanted to do all along. And so tell me if I got all that right. Was that right? Pretty much?
For the most part, yeah. The whole Delta gig was really cool to begin with, because it was my first aviation job getting into the field. But I didn't like exactly where they had put me. in a sense. Nothing wrong with the position. I just, it wasn't for me. It's the benefits just for experience wise. And the way I look at life is experience is everything. That's the best way I look at it. Because a lot of companies, at least in the blue collar field, they don't care about your education. Now they do in a sense. Obviously, you got to have an A&P license to do certain jobs like I have now, but experience is everything. So it doesn't matter in some senses what your education is. They want to know, have you done this before? Are you not going to go in here blind? Are you not going to get tunnel vision? You're not going to be lost. So that's the best way I look at it. And at least that's for an aviation sense.
Well, a lot of his friends went to pilot school. All right. And so he went the maintenance route. And the first day he was in maintenance school, he got a text from his buds that went to Middle Tennessee State. That's a big pilot school that a lot of people go to get their education and to become commercial airline pilots. And one of his friends texted him and said, "Hey, the teacher just said, hey man, we need technicians more than we need more pilots. So if any of you guys want to have more job security, because the planes always have to be maintained, now's the time to make the decision." So he came home that day and said, "Hey, I'm glad I made the decision because so-and-so texted me and said that the instructor, his teacher said they're looking for more technicians than they are pilots." So nothing wrong with going to be a pilot. I'm just saying that he came home and said, "Man, I made the right decision." So am I right on that?
Hmm?
Yeah. So
I remember that more because I was kind of freaking out because it's funny how I got into aviation. That's what the story I was going to tell.
Go ahead.
I don't even think you know this story how I got into aviation. So like he was saying earlier, I was looking at different routes to go. I knew I wanted to be a mechanic since I was 14 years old. You can probably attest to this. We'd always go into Walmart, whatever store, and I'd be begging you to buy Hot Wheels cars or little motorcycle toys or anything with that was mechanical. I wanted to play with. Didn't matter. That's all I loved since I was a kid. I knew at 14 though I wanted to be a mechanic because I've always loved cars. And I'll never forget this conversation I had because we were getting ready to go to the automotive trade school in Florida, and my best friend Brendan, he's actually a SkyWest first officer on an ERJ 175, beautiful plane by the way. And this is when he was just now going to college. I was just about to graduate high school, and I was still kind of trying to figure things out. And remember, I was at his house, and his father is a 30-year Delta pilot, was originally Northwestern pilot before the merger, fly 737, 757, 767s, if I'm not mistaken. Some of the Airbus aircraft, very, very well-rounded pilot. Long story short, him and his father were talking to me, and they were kind of looking at me going, why don't you go into aviation? Now, their house is riddled with aviation stuff. They have a B-52 bomber picture on their downstairs wall. Beautiful picture. I wish I could get that. But they talked to me about going into aviation versus going into automotive school. My first end goal, and I still love cars to this day. I still work on my own truck, but I wanted to be a Porsche mechanic. I wanted to own my own Porsche shop. That was going to be my original end goal at the time. But they talked me into going into aviation. Like most people, you look at a small plane, you think, oh, that's a Cessna. You look at a big plane, oh, that's a Boeing. Everyone thinks it's a Boeing 747, which, by the way, the last Boeing 747 just rolled off the assembly floor and it's going to Atlas Air, which is sad to see after a 50-year journey. That plane is the reason a lot of people are pilots and mechanics. So, rip Queen of the Skies, but glad to see it's still flying. But they talked to me about going into aviation and kind of gave me a little runaround about it. And that's when we found the school, and I told you guys about the school by us. Insane.
Yeah. Well, listen, for that, my dad was a pilot. All right. He was in the Confederate Air Force, had multiple planes. And unfortunately, you can't be a brave pilot and a bold pilot. You can't be both. And he had an accident in 1978, and we miss him a lot. But growing up, I grew up with airplanes. I mean, it was all about flying. He was much safer in the air than he was, in a car. And he had a Porsche, and we grew up with, when I grew up, we grew up with motorcycles, cars, planes. So when he picked aviation, I was like, hey, your grandfather, if he would have been alive today, he would have been like, yeah, baby, go for it. And then you get your pilot's license, I probably should have, if my dad wouldn't have passed away, I probably would have got my pilot's license. I just would have. But I still can. I'm still young enough. I could still go do it if I wanted to. But it's it's one of those things. And but when he went to aviation, I was like, hey, chip off the old block, because like I said, your grandfather would have loved it, because he loved his plane, and kept it at Teterboro. He flew everywhere. We used to fly down to the Bahamas. When we were in South Jersey in the summers when I was growing up, he would buzz the beach, and that's how my mom knew to go up to Baderfield and Atlantic City to pick him up. When he would come in from New York to Pottstown, where we grew up, he would buzz the house. That way we knew that we had to go pick him up at the airport. And anyway, we had a lot of fun. I flew the plane plenty of times when we were up there. He started out with a Bonanza. And then I don't know if he had the Piper, but then he got into a couple twin engine Beechcraft. He was going to get an Air Commander. He would have ended up in the Learjet. But the Beechcraft was the last plane that he had. And that was an awesome plane, man. It was loud, and it was strong, and it looked fast, and it just was beefy. I loved that Beechcraft. But anyway, so kind of aviation was in your heritage, in your blood, in your genes. And I knew about that story with Brendan and stuff.
Oh, you did? I thought.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So, but continue on. So we take the tour, and then you go to school. So talk about what you learned at tech school.
We learned basically the theory of aviation maintenance, everything down to so either your first day. Yeah. So there's four. Basically, when we were in school, they asked you what's basic physics. You know your basic physics, and basic math. Because if you know basic physics, you know how an airplane flies. You have four forces on a plane. You have thrust, drives it forward; drag, which is the air going over the wings, pushing it down and up. That's what gives you your lift through your plane. That's your third force, which is lift. And then you have the weight of the plane, which is gravity. So if you can figure that out, you can figure out everything in between.
So what else did they teach you there other than those four things?
Right. So that was just your first day, trying to get you acclimated so they can teach you.
You were there for 2 years. There's a lot of days in 2 years. So just remember, we're on a time here. So go ahead.
So we learned everything from your old aircraft, which is like wooden fabric, your doping fabric, making sure it's flame proof. You learned from the hydraulic systems, sheet metal work, composite work, which is what I work on now. It's the 787's fully as composite aircraft. You worked everything from power plant, which is your turbine engines, turboprops, piston engines. You learned your avionics systems, which is basically all your electrical systems. You learned mechanical systems. You learned interior workings. You work on, they teach you the theory on how to work on every acclimate part of an aircraft: landing gear structures, wheels and tires, packing bearings, taxiing planes, how to start planes, why do planes start, how do they operate, why do they run like this, why won't they run this way. Pretty much everything in between is what you learned in 2 years. We don't stop. Aviation's 24/7, which is why the school ran that way. So there were a lot of times where I was at school on holidays.
Yeah. Well, one day you came home with a lead block that you had to machine into a hydraulic hose or something, right? You brought
Oh
that
yeah,
home?
we manufactured we did it to some sort of spec. I forget what it was, but they gave us all the materials, and we manufactured a hydraulic line.
Yeah, and used all the tools that you learned how to, they had the full tool shop there. And so you graduate, you get hired by Delta, and then, like I said, you were there not even 3 hours, and then you made the jump to Boeing, right?
Yeah. So at Boeing, I didn't go in originally as a mechanic. I went in as an assembler, which was, I'm glad I'm out of it now. I'm glad I'm a mechanic now, but I'm definitely glad I put my time in, because I learned the innards of the 787, which you can't put a price on. That is such knowledgeable information.
So tell us some of the stuff without giving away Boeing secrets, and just tell us kind of some of the stuff that you did as in the manufacturing plant.
Basically, I just ran I was a hydraulics guy and an ICS guy. ICS is the internal cooling system for the plane. So I ran those lines, which is all ran above the plane and on the side of the planes. It's routed all through the plane, and I routed some of the hydraulic lines. That was kind of my main job. I've also installed some heat shielding and landing gear bays. I did some decompression panels in the cargo bays. That's kind of was my specialty.
So then, you were there 8 months, maybe a year or so, correct? And then the flight line gig came up, correct?
Yeah, so I applied for the flight line in March. That's when the new rec came out for it. And I remember I applied for it, put my Boeing ID in. I'm even as a contractor, you're not considered a Boeing employee. You're third partied. You're not a direct hire. Being a direct hire is where you can say you work for Boeing. Yes, you can put it on your resume. I was contracted for this company for Boeing. It still looks good. But if you're a direct hire for Boeing, they don't just direct hire everyone. I've seen many people, and it's sad too, because I've seen a lot of good people get turned away that shouldn't have. But also, I'm not in management, so I don't make those decisions.
Yeah. So you got the flight line, and you were out of the plant. You took a little time off, which was nice.
Mm.
And then you went back, as a full-time employee, with benefits and everything else. And so now you're basically working on the 787s, as I said, as either they come out of the delivery to the manufacturing plant, or if there's a tweak that has to be done and they come back in, correct?
Correct. So what we do is there's about 8 or 9 test flights before you have your final couple test flights, which is where the customer is involved, which the customer being all the different airlines. Like I said earlier, British Airways is a big one. You got all your airlines. You got American Air, United Air. Probably some of you haven't heard of. If anyone's out there ever heard of EVA Airlines, KLM, Etihad Airways. There's some liveries I've seen out there that I've never even heard of until I started working for Boeing. It's really cool seeing some of the different airlines. 𝐵𝐸𝐿 is one that I've seen out there.
Yeah.
But those are the customer. That's what your customer flight is. All the reps and the higher ups from those airlines that are buying those planes, they're seeing their final product before they take delivery of it, which is we have a delivery center in the whole 9.
Yeah.
For that, that's what we do. That's what my job is. We're test flight mechanics, essentially. Anything comes back, we have what's called flight squawks for anything that's written up in the air. That's what we come and fix, non-conformities. Anything that's written up or if QA finds, we fix.
Yeah. So about a month and a half ago, well, it's been that long now, they had family day at Boeing. So my wife and I went over to Charleston, and there were probably about 15, 20,000 people out there. How many people work at Boeing in South Carolina? 6, 9,000?
So, no, I think they're 8,000 now. They're shooting for 10.
Okay. Well, anyway, there were about 20,000 people out there. The line was like a mile long to get in there. Of course, he knew to do the U-turn and come around, and we beat the line. So that was awesome. But we got to take couldn't take pictures or anything, but we got to take the tour of the plant, the painting center. We saw the delivery center. The place was immaculate. It was like a surgical center. It was so clean, and it's amazing to see these 787s because the material, the composite materials, is like super thin, and there's not much between that and the air that's out there, or the 30,000, 36,000 feet that's below you to hit the ground. So when you see the plane, it's a massive thing. It holds what? How many people flying it? Depending on how it's built, but it's laid out.
You have 3 configurations of the 787. You have the 787-8, the 9, and the 10. The 8 being the little one, the 10 being the big one, 9 being the mid capacity. A fully configured -10, which that means you click every button that you want.
It's loaded. It's like a loaded SUV.
Yeah, basically a fully optioned 787. You get everything.
How many people?
300. Think fully configured. It's 350.
Yeah, but how many people does it hold?
350.
Oh, 350. Okay, there you go. So anyway, a lot of people on there. Takes a lot of time to get debarked, once you get parked. But bottom line is we saw everything, the tail section. It's amazing, all these different parts. They've got these equipment that they ship these things on. They have these 2 747s that have been modified where they put all the parts. The parts are built all over the world. They either come to here, Seattle, and to Charleston or Seattle. They're built. The facility is unbelievable. And it was just very, very impressive. They treat their employees like gold. And all in all, I was proud to see exactly what he did. And it was an amazing tour. It just was. If they ever, if you ever get a chance to go see one of these aircraft manufacturing facilities, it is unbelievable, what they can do. And like I said, everything is done first, top notch, first class. Q&A is, safety is the major protocol. Not only do they don't want anything to happen to the plane, but just the employees that are working there. So, in construction, you always see the signs. We haven't had an accident in, 1,006 days or whatever. Same thing with Boeing. They're very, very careful about everything that they do. So when I talk to people about planting seeds, about working with your hands, you don't have to go, not everybody's built for college. Go to tech school, become an electrician, becoming a plumber, become an HVAC tech, because we need all those things. What's your thought about that? Now that, because you went through the tech route versus some of your friends went to four-year college, some of your buds went to pilot school, some of your guys didn't go to school. They just, they're just hanging out. So what's your thought there?
Well, it depends on what you want to do. This is not a lot of people, and I've seen this firsthand, and this is what I tell people to this day, and I'm going to say this now. Aviation is a very, very rewarding career. Whatever route you go into, whether it's manufacturing, maintenance, being a pilot, being a flight attendant, any part of aviation is a very rewarding career. But I tell this to everyone, and I told this to a kid that I saw after I was coming out of my license testing. Do not get in this just for the money. This is not a career you go into just solely for the money. You will be burnt out in a year. It does not matter what entity you go into. Like I just said, this is not a career just to make the money. But with that said, I think a lot of people do need to go more into trades because it's more needed. Everyone and their mother can go to school to become a business major. Well, that doesn't really, I've never been to a business class, so I can't say that for anything. But I feel like we need more trades, and more people need to actually go out and do more work to figure out what they want to do versus going to become a business major and just going to work in sales, let's just say.
Hey, believe it or not, you're in construction. You build planes. Your company builds planes and they maintain them. I build a magazine. I'm not using, composites. I'm using ink, paper, digital. I'm a builder too. A lot of people out there are listening to you. They're constructors, they're engineers, they're architects, they're end users, they're retailers, they're restaurateurs, but they need all of these people to help them, operate and build all their stores. So, the thing that I want to know is, because we were athletes, and I was your coach and I watched you go through all of that stuff. Yeah. If I wasn't as hard on you, just like with lacrosse. Hey man, if you want to throw a lacrosse ball with me, I'm like, have you thrown today? Have you thrown with each hand? How many times did they ask you to throw with each hand?
I think it was 50 each hand.
No, 200. Come on, man.
I can't remember.
Okay, 200 wall ball. If you throw the ball 200, when you've done your 200 with both hands, then I'll come out and then I'll play catch with you. All right. So, and we took Taekwondo together. And here's a really good story. You know why I took Taekwondo? Because I was so hard on him. And this guy's a monster right now. What do you bench?
Last time I did a full weight max, I did 245 for 5.
Okay, so he's a big boy. Anyway, when I was hard on him, I kept looking at him like, oh my God, when he's like 15 or 16, he's going to take a swing at me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take the Taekwondo just to protect myself. So he and I went to Taekwondo school together, and become black belts. And so that's why I did it. I went down there, I was sitting there playing on my phone, watching this thing, and I kept looking at him like, I should get out there and learn how to do this too. Not that you would take a swing at me, but we've had our little runs-ins just like father and sons do. It's just the reality of it. And so I'm sure, plenty of you guys are out there know exactly what I'm talking about. And mom had to get between us. But the bottom line is that if I wasn't as hard on you about you finish what you start, you be on time, anything that you do, I don't care if it's cleaning the toilet or whatever, you do it the best that you can. Am I right?
And that's been instilled in me now just from being at Boeing or being in aviation now.
You knew it before you went there though.
Yeah, but it just got encrusted even more. you're just basically kicking the dead horse even more and more. You know, that's the big thing with aviation. Everything is done. It's documented. There's nothing in aviation that's not documented. There's literally
these construction guys out there, believe me, they've got their plans, they got the specs, they got to go through the same kind of gig. Everything's documented, the plans, you got to build it the way that the customer wants it, because you got to, just like when you turn over the planes, these guys have to turn the keys over to the facility. And then there's a punch list that constructors have to go through to get to do the walkthrough, and then they fix it, and then it goes into the facility maintenance side. It's the same gig that Boeing does. Believe it or not, if you use your finger, this first part is the construction part, where you build the plant, or you build the plane, or you build the car. After that, it's all the maintenance. That's what happens to the life of the plane, the facility, and then it gets either renovated or it's sold, and they put new colors and a new logo on it or whatever. It's the same gig. It's just different materials, but it's still building stuff and maintaining. But the maintenance side of it is the longevity. Once the construction's done, it goes into the facility maintenance side of things. So you're kind of doing the same thing a lot of these people out here that are listening, are listening to it, right?
Right. The reason I'm getting so technical with it is, though, between construction and aviation worldwide, it's not even just with the FAA in the United States. Worldwide, it is the most regulated industry in the world. Your building specs differ from state to state worldwide. Aviation's the same worldwide. It does not matter. Your EU specs and your FAA specs may differ very little, but in reality, if I were to go travel to Europe to go work on an EU plane, it'd be the same concept. There's nothing really that differentiates from it. Your paperwork may be a little different, the way you do things, but it's still going to be concepts. That's why I'm getting so technical with it.
Yeah. Well, the bottom line is that you went to trade school, you learned welding, you did woodworking, you learned all this stuff. Now you passed your A&P. Now you can work on anything that's got a jet engine, whether it's a train, a boiler in a hospital. You're certified to do that, and it's there for life. And now your gig would be to become a pilot, because you can make more money as an A&P if you got your pilot's license, right?
In some instances, you could, not in commercial
aviation.
General aviation, you definitely could.
Yeah. So there's incentives there, and Boeing, the good company that they are, they pay for your schooling. If you want to go take classes or go back to college or get your business degree or whatever it might be, so when you look back and you look at some of your friends and where they're at now, Brandon's a pilot, and a couple of other guys are. Other guys went to the 4-year gig. Some of them have landed some good jobs, some of them haven't. And some of them didn't go to school, and they're hanging out and doing whatever. You could have, you could have taken my company over, or, done whatever. We had a couple different gigs that we could have done and so forth. But, listen, you did what you wanted to. And the most important thing is, if you're not having fun, am I right? It's not worth it, right?
All right. I look forward to going to work every day. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Especially if I got a great shift. It helps. That's actually one big thing about aviation, other than construction. A lot of construction is done in the morning. Now, your road work is all done at night. Most of your heavy aviation work, a lot of people don't know this, is done at night. That was a big thing that they instilled in us in school, and it's great for me because I am not a morning person. I think you knew this growing up, having to wake me up, trying to get me up and go to school. But all your maintenance work is done at night. From 9 to 7 generally is kind of the time frame most companies use. So they were telling us that in school. Hey, look, don't look forward to going day shift when you get out of here. You're gonna be working nights, which I was ecstatic when I heard that.
Yeah. Well, believe me, there's plenty of constructors out there. I'll tell you, I'm up at 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning, and I got to be on the site, and that's when a lot of stuff's done. So, construction, I knew long ago, just like my family's been in construction since 1888. When I was 16, I had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to be on, to go to the construction site, so, and that was at 16.
Opposite. You go at night.
Right. So the bottom line is that, it's still the same thing. Got to be on time, got to be ready to go to work, got to give it to your all. And, it's that same aspect. So, if if someone wanted to find out about AIM, and they were thinking about, they got kids, let's say they're like, in 8th or 9th grade, they're going into high school, and maybe they're not, their parents know that they're not, college probably isn't the best, gig for them, and they wanted to find out more about where you went to school with AIM. How would they find out about AIM? Just go online and
go online and Google. So this is a big thing too. A lot of people should know. You don't have to go to AIM. I preferred AIM was a great school for me because it was close by. There's hundreds of aviation schools around the country. The best thing you could do is go on Google FAA Part 147. That's the FAA designation, all the legal standards for every maintenance school in the country. That's what you have to abide by in maintenance, or for a maintenance school. It gives you a list. If you just Google that, it should give you a pretty long list of
of all the institutions that are out there. Okay.
All the FAA certified institutions. The big thing is, if it's not FAA certified, you can't get cleared to go take your tests, to go get your license. That license is gold.
Yeah.
That's your ticket into the aviation maintenance world. You can get into it, which is under a Part 145, which is the repair station. You work under a company's maintenance number, and you're considered a certified repairman, but you can only work under that certificate. You can't go to an airline with that.
Yeah. Listen, if you're going to go in it, you got to be FAA approved. You got to get that certification. It's
on all day, but the big thing is, if you're looking to go into a maintenance school, Google FAA Part 147 schools. It should give you a whole list. Embry-Riddle's Part 147 certified. There's a college called Spartan College. I think it's in Ohio. That's certified. Obviously, Aviation Institute of Maintenance. They have a bunch of locations. Middle Tennessee State in Tennessee, right outside Nashville, is Part 147 certified. There's a ton of them. So it's just got to
find. You want to make sure that they're FAA certified. It's like going to a bank. You want to make sure they're FDIC approved. So in case whatever, it's the same thing. You want to make sure that it's FAA certified. So if you got some kids out there and they don't know what to do, and they don't want to go into the military, which I still think is everybody should do for 2 years, in my opinion. Israel does it right. Everybody's got to go do 2 years, male or female. You do your time. You got that. That's my own take on that. But the bottom line is, if your kid's not going to go to the military, and they're not ready for school, and they don't want to be just hanging out doing whatever, work with your hands. You don't have to go to aviation school. There are other tech schools out there. I'll teach you HVAC, welding, all of these different things. And these are construction guys out there. So we all know that all of these different services are needed, because right now there's a serious shortage. No one wants to work. There's, I hear it every day talking to people. Hey, we had a great year. If I had more people, if I could find more superintendents or more PMs or just people, I've had to turn away business because I just don't have the labor to get things done, or I even had a better year. So, and Boeing, when you were hired, they were looking for, I think, 9,000 people they wanted to hire. It was an insane number.
Just flight line alone, I think we're looking for 50 more mechanics.
Yeah.
Just all across all 3 shifts.
Yeah. Yeah. So, listen, the biggest thing is that everybody thinks that being a blue collar worker, it's I need my 4-year degree. Look, I went to college. I got a dual. I was an economics, political science major. I really went there to play sports and to be a ski bum. I'll be honest with you. And I did the 5-year plan. And the bottom line is that, college is for everybody. So you have this tech school gig out there, and really, it's an opportunity for you to become an entrepreneur. You can own your own business. You could work for, a huge corporation, and who knows, you could go out on your own and start your own shop, or, work, but you got to get the experience, and you got to be taught the right way. And you got to get that paperwork, that diploma or the FAA certification or whatever it might be. And you remember Sean Nickel? He went to school. Do you remember him? He became a welder.
Christian. Or he's a welder now.
Yeah, he's a welder. He's busy. He can pick his jobs where he wants to go. You know, he's a welder. So, you know, I, like I said, if you got a son at home or a daughter and they're thinking about it and whatever, plant the seed now, because working with your hands, there's nothing more rewarding about it. Just like every month, I build my magazine. I mean, you know, I work on it and I see it. You know, the cover's behind me. I built all those. I didn't know what they were going to look like until they were done. So, same olds with him. And believe me, I didn't know that he was going to be in aviation. I had no idea. I never pushed you into anything. Did I push you into hockey?
No, you
Did I,
pushed me
did I
nothing.
push you into lacrosse?
I remember you were in your basement office in our old house, and I came down and I grabbed the stick off your wall because you had them both. You had your Petty one and your Denver one up there,
Yeah.
and I grabbed it and said, "Hey, I want to play lacrosse." And you said, "We'll go get a tennis ball and go try to catch with it."
Yeah.
We didn't have any.
And I didn't tell you to, I didn't tell you to take Taekwondo, did I? No. The only thing that I wanted to do is, if you did any of those things, the reason why I wanted to coach you is because A, I played all those games, and B, I just didn't want some Yahoo, you know, coaching. And I was probably tougher on you than anybody. Am I right? On any of those teams that I coached with you, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't play daddy ball, did I?
Oh no, a lot of people thought so, would call that, but it wasn't true.
No, I played daddy ball with you.
Yeah, some people said that. I'm like, you seen him?
No, you know, listen, I never played daddy ball. I was very, 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 you know, listen, I remember we were trying to make the select team and I called a penalty on you because I was reffing the game, and you were like, Dad, you just called a penalty on me. I'm not going to make the select team. I'm like, dude, you committed a penalty. Okay. I threw the flag. That's life, you know, but you made the team. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get you on that team. You made that team yourself. So, but I didn't push him into anything. But when he went into the, you know, listen, he was flipping bikes, he was flipping cars. When this whole thing went on, it was like, it was awesome because he actually finally found that niche that he would get up. It was like a 180. You have no idea. Trying to get him out of bed in the morning for high school was like, it was a battle every day with my wife and I, trying to get him to go to school. So, but when he got into AIM, it was like a complete 180. Room was cleaner, went to school, attitude was better, everything just, you know, complete 180, you know. And it was an amazing thing. And the transformation, now that we see you from when you were like 14 or 15 and now you're 23, it's been the most amazing transformation that, you know, we've seen. And what did I always tell you when you were growing up? 20 years from now, all those things, you're going to say, Dad, you were right, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though, you know, think I
Yeah.
was wrong at the time when I was saying that stuff, I'll say, look, down the road, I've done everything you've done 20 times over. But 20 years down the road or 10, whatever, you're going to look back and say, you know what, Dad, you were right, man. I'm glad you did all those things. Am I right?
Right. There's
And I'm
one
not
thing.
looking for ego here. Okay. I'm just telling you, my job as a father was to make sure you had thick skin, that you were going to succeed, and that you could dealing with the world. You go to work for someone, there's going to be that guy that you don't like, or you don't like this, or you don't like that. You just got to roll with the punches, because the world is a very competitive place out there, and there's no time for BS. And that's what my job was, to make sure that when you left the nest, that you were ready to, you know, go do your thing. And I think I succeeded in that. Correct?
Right. I'm, I could move anywhere and I could feel comfortable moving there right now.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, but, you know, Mom and I, we're very proud of you. You've done an awesome job. You've kicked ass, no doubt. So all of you out there, um, like I said, if you got kids at home and they don't know what they want to do and they don't want to join the military, and you don't want them just hanging out, look at them for trade schools. We need them. We're all in construction. Every GC end user, they'll tell you, we need PMs. We need superintendents. We need welders. We need electricians. We need HVAC techs. We need construction guys. We need all of those things, but we're not going to be able to get stuff done because all these other people are going to retire, and we got no one filling them. So plant the seed. You know, the sum is always bigger than the whole. And my son right here is just living proof. That's why I want him to have him on here, is that, you know, we went through it, and he chose this on himself, and look where he's at. And, you know, and like I said, it's not even an ego thing. It's just, this is the reality of it. And, you know, it's an available thing. You just have to get that money. I want to go to Duke. I want to go to Harvard. I want to go to where, it's not for everybody. Tech school, what did I tell you about becoming a plumber?
Oh, you can write your own check.
Yeah, because guess why? Everybody needs water. You got to take showers. You got to cook with it. You got to drink it. Everybody, water needs, if you can handle the plumber jokes with the crack and all that, blah, 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 so what? You'll be a millionaire, So, I told you about all those service, HVAC, whatever, you got to stay warm. You got to stay cold. You need electricity. You need, there's always the, handymans make really, really good money. I just had a handyman guy on there. I had my last podcast, I had a guy who became a painter at school. Now he's got 80 location franchisees and he didn't even know how to paint. So it's that determination and grit and, putting your blinders on and knowing what you want. Am I right?
Going into trades too, you didn't really mention is a lot of people don't know about this either, even being in aviation. The government puts out contracts all the time. Some people probably know about this. Some, if you don't know, at least in aviation standpoint, the government, even the military especially, they look for civilian mechanics, contractors. They'll send you all over the place. All you got to do is look online for them. But it's a huge, huge part of aviation, let alone probably construction as well. You can pick up these military contracts, and a lot of it being almost tax-free, working for the federal government.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, look, there's federal contractors out there, we get the federal thing. A lot of these guys out there, they understand it too. Listen, the government is the largest contractor in the world. They've been building buildings for over 200 years. So, but hey, listen, this has been a really good conversation. All right. And, we'll see you in a couple of weeks when you come home for Christmas. And and then we'll start the year off right. We'll close 2022 out. We'll watch hopefully the Bulldogs beat Ohio State and then win the championship. So everybody out there, Commercial Construction Coffee Talk, listen, have a great next couple of weeks. Finish out 2022 strong and recharge your battery, because it's going to be a wild ride in 2023. Every day, I say that every day. I mean, I go through days all day, and then I need to catch a couple hours of Z's, and then I got to do it all over again. So Brody, we appreciate your time telling your story and what you did and why you did it and what you're going to do. And so say goodbye from Charleston, Brody, to everybody out there. Say goodbye.
Goodbye, guys. If you have any aviation questions, you can find me on LinkedIn, Brody Corson. You'll see me, Flight Readiness Technician at the Boeing Company. If you have any aviation questions at all for your kids or yourselves, please reach out. No big deal.
Awesome. And listen, if anyone wants to reach me, I'm at davidc@ccr-mag.com. Send me something. We're always looking for stories, new products, personnel announcements. We just crossed in November. We just crossed 3 million people hitting the website. First time ever. We had 28 million people hit our site in 2021. I can't wait till the end of the year so I can count the numbers up. Hopefully there'll be over 30 million, but we just crossed over the 3 million mark for that last month. And, it's been unbelievable. So with that said, happy holidays. Stay safe out there. I don't care what you're doing, whether you're on the flight line or on a construction site. Make sure you're safe, you're drinking water, staying hydrated, and all that good stuff. So with that said, Brody, I will see you in a couple of weeks. And everybody out there in Commercial Construction Coffee Talk lands, we will see you next time on another episode. And Happy New Year. All right, bro. I will talk to you later, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. Can't wait to see you, man. Good job. I'm proud of you. All right. Thanks. I love you too. All right, guys. We'll talk to you later. See ya.